Okay, we are broadcasting now back at home base at the Kiddushin Daf of Fairways Lakewood, and we welcome in Saba, who is joining us, and Baruch Ian, Shelley Zeitlin, Barish Gesserman, Yisrael Fisher from Tannersville, Shimon Klein, Marshall Castle, Stephen Holtzman, that's Ben Cian Cohn, Menachem Umansky, Mordechai Sultan, Mel Zachter, Philippe, Michal, Moshe Lehman, Yitzi Muller, Moshe Jacqueline, Abe Arbach, Eddie Chazan, and we have Irving Fishbaum, who is joining us from the Poconos, and Ruvain Pollack has just joined us inside over here, and we are fortunate to have holding the fort down over here Rich Lenner here live in person in Shul, and we are holding, if you remember, we're actually holding now by Ikeda Amrei, 2 lines from the bottom. We are dedicated by Baruch Ian, Lili Nishmas Estabas Yoni, Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Avram Ben Shmuel HaKohen, and the Neshama Shel Abba Li, also for Shalema for Baruch Shlomo Ben Lina. We also are dedicated by Aaron Swade, Lili Nishmas Chana Bashmol, and his sister Freda Bashol, by Mark Frankel, L'Refu Shalema for Miriam Sarah Basipora, by Shimon Deer, with Tefillah for the Chayli Adaf and all of Klal Yisrael. Also, Berak Goldwasser is sponsoring the shir with Akar Satayv for his family to the Eibishter and for the Refuah Shalema of Chayli Yisrael. And we also learn for Yehudis Cyril Bas Miriam should have Refuah Shalema, for Ma'ishver Avigdoraya ben Rivka, and for Mordechai Yehudis, they should have a refuah shalema b'seich shar Chayli Yisrael. So the Gemara says, if you remember, this man was mekadesh his kala with silk. So we had a machlokes between Rabba and Rav Yosef whether the silk has to be assessed before the Kiddushin or not. Rabba says that it doesn't. Rav Yosef says that it does. So Ikadamrei, they're arguing Bekoldu. When he said to her, accept the silk, whatever it's worth, and she agreed. But even then, Nami Pligi, even then Rav Yosef says it has to be pre-assessed. Rav Yosef I'm a Shava Kesef, because the din that you could be a Mekadosh and Isha with Shava Kesef, how are you Kesef? It has to be just like silver, Mak Kesef, the kids. Just like silver has a fixed price when it's given, Af Shava Kesef Nami the kit. So also the value of Kesef has to have a fixed price. Amar Rav Yosef, so Rav Yosef says, Mina Aminallah, where do I learn this from? The Tanya, because it says when you buy a Evet Ivri, so it says Mikesef Miknasai, from the money of his purchase. Bekesef hu nikne, he could be purchased with money, but ve'ena nikne b'tfuah v'kelim, he can't be purchased with grain or utensils. Now that can't be literal. Hai tfuah v'kelim echi dami. Ilema deloy miknebu klal, if it means that he can't be purchased with grain and utensils at all, that doesn't make sense. Because the pasuk says, "Yoshiv gulasai amarachmana." If the person wants to redeem himself from service, he has to return his redemption. That means the amount of years that he has left, we prorate it, and he has to return that. Now, the drush over here is that the word Yoshiv is extra. Because the pasuk could have said lefi gulasai, but it didn't have to say yoshiv. So yoshiv, that extra word, comes l'rabbi shava kesef kekesef, that you're allowed to give the equivalent of money. So you could pay in tfuah and kalim. So what does it mean that you can't give v'ida less shava pruta? And if the tvu and the kelim don't have the value of a pruta, ma'ir your tvu v'kelim, you can't give silver that doesn't have the value of a pruta either. Afilu kesef nami. Elalav, it must be the ispahu shava pruta. It has the value of a pruta, but the kevan doloi kaitze. But if it doesn't have a fixed price, if it wasn't assessed, loy, it's not good. So when it says tvu and kalim, it means you can't use tvu and kalim, grain and utensils, unless you fix the price beforehand, because it has to be like kesef that has a fixed price. The idach, what will Rabbah do? Because Rabbah says that it doesn't need to be assessed. How will he learn? Hachi kamar. What does it mean that you cannot be redeem a slave with tfua and kalim? Hachi kamar. B'teiris kesef unikno. You can't purchase a slave with tfua and kalim. What it means is b'teiris kesef unikna. He could only be acquired with money. B'ein nikna b'teiris tfua v'kalim. He can't be acquired with the symbolic kinyan of chalipin, which you could use a utensil or you could use grain as the symbolic kinyan of chalipin. V'ein nikna b'teiris tfua v'kalim u'mayninu chalipin. An eved can only be acquired with kesef. He can't be acquired with the symbolic kinyan of chalipin. Says the Gemara, but that will work if you hold peiris could be used for a symbolic kinyan of chalipin. But Rav Nachman Damar peiris loy avdei chalipin, that you cannot do the symbolic of kinyan of chalipin with fruit. Then ma'ikalamemer. So what does it mean that you can't acquire an eved with peiris and tfua? It can't refer to chalipin. Ma'ikalamemer. Ela la'olam the lesbu shava pruta. The grain and the utensils don't have the value of a pruta. But I might think that by grain or a keli, even if it's less than a pruta, since it's immediately usable, it's not like a coin that has only buying power. Alaylam the lesbu shava pruta. Udeka'amrit ma'ir yatvu v'kelim. Why only grain and utensils? Afilu kesef nami. Even if it's silver, if it doesn't have the value of pruta, it's not good. Loy mi bay kamer. It builds to a climax. Loy mi bay kesef. It's not a question, money, di is pay shava pruta in, iloi loy. If it's the value of a pruta, yes. If not, not. Aval tvu v'kelim, but grain and utensil, which can be used right away, ema midemikra v'haniyasayu, since you could use it right away, it's not just buying power. Gomer maknei nafshe, it's possible the servant transfers himself over for that amount. Kamash malan, that it has to be a shava pruta, even if it's peiris, even if it's kelim. Now the Gemara is going to present another possibility for Rav Yosef's opinion that it needs to be assessed, the silk needs to be assessed. Rav Yosef, how do I know that the silk needs to be assessed before it's given to the kala? The Tanya, Egel zeh lepidyon b'ni, this calf should be for the redemption of my son. He has to give 5 shkalim to redeem his son. So if the father gives to a kohen, instead of the 5 silver dollars, he gives him a calf. Or talis zeh lepidyon b'ni, this talis should be for the redemption of my son. It's no good. Egel zeh b'chamesh slime lepidyon b'ni, but if he says this calf worth 5 slime to redeem my son, or talis zu b'chamesh slime, or this talis for 5 slime lepidyon b'ni, b'no padik, the son is redeemed. Now, what's the difference? In the first case, he's not redeemed. In the second, he is. If it's not worth 5 slum, then what does it help that he says that it's 5 slum? Kol kamine, it's not the father's power to say that it's worth 5 slum if it's not worth 5 slum. It's even if it's worth 5 slum, but the kavan the loy kites a like. So the ratio where he says he should be redeemed with the calf or redeemed with the talis, even though in reality it's worth 5 slum, but since it's not assessed, it's not like kesef because it's not kits, it's not fixed. in the Sefer where he says that the egel which is worth 5 slum, the talis which is worth 5 slum, that means when it was assessed and it was fixed that it's worth 5 slum, then it's good. Says the Gemara, it's not a proof. Loi, la'olam de loi shavi, where it's not worth 5 slum. So it's not worth 5 slum, so who's the father to say accepted as 5 slum? Ukagain de kabel kayin ilve. And it's talking about where the kayin says, I accept it, to me, it's worth 5 slum. I have such a need, so I accept it, to me it's worth 5 slum. What's an example of that? Ki hod Rav Kahana shokel sudra mebei pidyon haben. He took a turban for pidyon haben. Now the turban really wasn't worth 5 shkolim, but he needed a turban, as we welcome in Harrison Kletzel and Richard Rosenzweig, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Abe Arbach, Nathan, Mo Kushner, Yisrael Kramer. A lot of people joining us late here this evening. It's good to have all of you.
Rabbi, I have a name. Could you just in cause of Yotzai?
Yeah.
Rivka Bas Yitzchak HaKayin.
We'll learn for Rivka Bas Yitzchak HaKayin that the neshama should have an aliyah.
Amen.
He ordered Rav Kahana shokel sudra mepei pidyon haben. He accepted a turban, amalei, and he said even though the turban wasn't worth 5 slum, maybe it was worth only 2 slum, but he said l'didi chazi li chamei slum. To me, it's worth 5 slum because I can't walk around without a turban, so I needed it. So to me, it's worth 5 slum. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Ashi loy amron el kigain Rav Kahana. It's only like Rav Kahana, the Gavra Rabbahu. He's a very important man. And it's unbefitting for him to walk around without a sudra, without a turban. So if he doesn't have one, it's worth for him anything to get it. But anybody else is not going to, it's something that's worth only 2 slum. He can't say that it's worth to him 5 slum. And we are just joined by Mark Frankel, who had to look around for the address. I know, Mark, it gets difficult to find the address. And Nachman Chapler has just joined us, and it's great to have all of you. Rabbi Kranz is here. So now the Gemara says, Ki hoda Mar bar Vashi, who was a choshev a mensch, Zovan Sudra me'ime de Rabba mikuvei. He bought a turban from the mother of Rabba from Kuvei. Shavi Asare, it was worth 10, but Betleiser, he played 13 because he needed it badly, and therefore an Adam Chashim, it's worth more than it's actually worth. Okay, now we're going to talk about some cases, very interesting cases, as the Gemara is going to take us through a lot of very interesting cases over here. And it is nice to have 29 Zoomers here. There it is, the 30th Zoomer. 30th Zoomer, as Irving Fishbaum is beaming in from the Poconos, where he's fortunate to be with his family for a vacation. Nobody deserves a vacation better than Irving Fishbaum, and it's good to have our. Look at that! He brings the only person that I know that brings the Verrazano Bridge to the Poconos. Now, they could use a Verrazano Bridge in the Poconos. We are in Lakewood. We are holding for you, we're going to back up to the 2 dots. We're on the 2 dots on Daf Ches Amud Aleph, which is 7 lines above the intermediate lines. 7 lines above the intermediate lines. Amar Rabbi Elazar, Hiskachi li b'mana. He tells her, I want you to be Mekadeshes to me for 100 zuz. And then Manasan la dinner, he gives her a dinner which is only 25 zuz. Harizu Mekudeshes, she is betrothed immediately. V'yashlim, and he will complete the payment later. My timer. Why? Because Kamen Damala Mana, since he told her 100, V'yavla dinar, and he gave her 25, Commander Amala Almanas Dami. It's as if he said, on the condition that I complete the amount to 100. And we know that when he said on the condition, it's as if he said, from now, when I give you the completion. So therefore, of course, if he doesn't give her the other 75, they're not married, they're not engaged. But if he gives her the other 75, then she's engaged from now. Meisvei. So the Gemara says we didn't learn that way. Hiskachli b'mana, if he says be betrothed to me with a mana v'yamayna v'haylech, and he was counting it out, 1, 2, 3. V'rotze echad mehem lachzer, and one of them wants to back out. Afilu b'dinar ha'achron, even if it's the last coin, they could back out. So you see that we don't say that it's just a stipulation. Harishus biyadai, says the Gemara, hacham b'mayaskinan da'amar b'moneh zu, with this money. Now, since he said this money, that means that he's going to give it all to her now. Says the Gemara, but hamid is safer b'moneh zu, since the latter part of the teaching is talking about this mana, reisha b'moneh stam. That implies that the reisha is where he just said 100. The Ketani Seifa Amalai is skachli b'moneh zu, with this mana, v'nimtza mana chas a dinner, and it's lacking a dinner, a dinner shel l'chayshes, or instead of it being a dinner of silver, it's a dinner of copper, ain't a mikudeshes. Dinner ra, if it has a coin that's silver, just it's a faulty coin that's not very liquid. Harizuma Kadeshes, they're betrothed because you have a mana, v'yachlef, and he should switch the coin. Now we'll see that it is liquid, but it's not completely liquid. So he should switch it for a completely liquid coin. But the bottom line is, since the seif is manazu, the reish is talking about manastam. Says the Gemara, loy reish v'seifa damar b'manazu. Both the reish and the seif is where he says this 100. Uprushe kamafarish, and it's just explaining. Rotz echad and Lazar, if they want to back out, either of them, afilu b'dinar achron, even when they're counting out the last coin, before they counted out the last coin, harishus biyada, ketzad, when could they back out? Kigayin da'amala b'manazu. V'achanami mistavram. Why? The isok daitel reisha b'manastam, and even then you could back out, and the seif is talking about manazu. If you could back out even by manastam, then it's no chiddush that with manazu. Hashtem a manastam lo yavi kiddushay, but manazu mebai, it would be superfluous. Says the Gemara, well, imishim haloi area, that wouldn't be a kasha. Tana seifa ligluye l'reisha, that you shouldn't say that the reisha is only talking about manazu. So the seifa says manazu to tell you that the reisha is talking about manastam. Tana seifa legluye reisha shaloi taima reisha b'manazu aval b'manastam. It would be an automatic kiddushin, have a kiddushin. So tana seifa b'manazu to reveal that the reisha is manastam. Michlal the reisha b'manastam afilu hachi lo have a kiddushin. So it's not conclusive one way or the other. Ravashi says there's a difference. The reisha could even be talking about manastam. The reason why they're able to back out is because if he's counting it out, it's different. If he's counting it out, it's clear that he's not making a stipulation that he's going to give it to her later, but he's going to give it to her now. Why? Because the daita akula, her mind is to get the whole thing, and therefore they could back out until the last coin. Now, hay dinner shel nechayshes hechidami. When it says if one of the dinners was copper, it's no good. If she saw it, then she accepted it. She didn't say anything. She took it. She hasab rav kibla. He gave it to her in the night where she couldn't see it. It was buried in the coins. So she didn't see it that you could say that she accepted it. Hi dinner rahechidami. What does it mean if it's a bad dinner? Either loy nafik. If it's not liquid at all, then why should the Kiddushin be a good Kiddushin? Hi dinner shel nechoshes. That's like a dinner shel nechoshes. It's not what they agreed. Amra Papa, no. It is liquid, just it's not so liquid. It's not so liquid, so the Kiddushin is good Kiddushin, but he should switch it. Now, the Gemara talks about a famous case. As we are holding on the bottom line on Daf Ches Amud Aleph, well on our way in Masechtas Kiddushin with 30 Zoomers here this evening, broadcasting from our flagship station here at the beautiful Agudas Yisrael Beis Zev of Fairways. For those that came on later, we're delighted to say that Baruch Ian's Adim did receive a kidney transplant today, a major Kiddush Hashem. Here is a man together with his wife who has an outreach yeshiva in Staten Island for Russians, and he got a new lease on life from a Hasidish person. That's just Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael. It's really beautiful. Really, just really beautiful. Amar Rava, Amar Rav Nachman. Rava says in the name of Rav Nachman, Amar lo hiskachi li b'mana. He says, be betrothed to me for 100 zuz, but he didn't have the 100 zuz on him. So what did he do? Vaniach lo mashkin oleh. He gives her a collateral, a silver case. Says the Gemara, ain't a Mekudeshes. She's not Mekudeshes. Why? Because Mona ain't kan. He didn't give her $100. And mashkin ain't kan. The collateral is not hers. It's not a gift. It's only until she gets the money. So there's no Kiddushin. There's no betrothal. Eisvei Rava Rav Nachman. So Rava asked Rav Nachman, oh yeah? We learned Kitsha b'mashkin mikudeshes. If he's mekadesh her with a mashkin, it's mikudeshes. Nah, that's a different story. What happened over here is Chatzkel gave a loan to Shelley for $100. And Shelley gave him a silver case as a mashkin. And now Chatzkel takes this silver case and says to Sarah, you should be betrothed to me with this collateral. Now what he meant is what this collateral represents. And that is, I'm giving you the loan that Shelley owes me. And I'm giving you something concrete because if Shelley doesn't pay, then you're going to get the case. So he's giving the loan, the $100, or the case. Says the Gemara, there, Hasam b'mashkin da'acherim. And he temporarily owns, Chatzkel temporarily owns the coast. Ukid Reb Yitzchak, the Amar Reb Yitzchak menayin lebal chayv shekoyne mashkin. How do we know that Chatzkel, the creditor, in the meantime owns the case? Shenemar, it says, if Shelley would be poor, Baruch Hashem he's not, but if he would be poor, and the mashkin would be Shelley's pajamas, then there's a mitzvah for Chatzkel to return the pajamas in the night, so that he'll have what to sleep with. And it says that if you do that, it should be considered as charity. But if the mashkin is not temporarily Chatzkel's, why would it be charity? If he doesn't acquire it, tzedakah minayin. That the creditor shekaina mashkin, that he temporarily owns the mashkin. And therefore when he gives it to her, he's giving her either the mashkin or the money that Shelley owes him. So therefore he's definitely giving her something now. B'nai Rav Huna bar Avin, the children of Rav Huna bar Avin, Zovin hahi amsa beprite. They bought a certain maidservant for a fixed sum of prutos. Let's say for 68 prutos. Lo yavabaydai. They didn't have prutos with them. Oisivu naska ale. So they gave as collateral bullion, a piece of silver bullion. L'soifa yakar amsa. Afterwards, the price of the maidservant went up, so the seller wanted to back out. They wanted to back out. So also the Kami to Rabami, they came before Rabami. Amalu, so he says, yeah, they could back out. Prite Einkan, you didn't pay the 68 prutas. And Naska Einkan, you didn't pay with the bullion, that was only collateral. So you never paid, and therefore, they could back out and restructure a new deal. Okay, now remember, by a wedding, the Kala is very quiet. As we welcome in Yehuda from Yerushalayim for our 31st Zoomer of the evening, you know who we've been missing? We've been missing Shalom Fogel. What happened to Shalom Fogel? Could somebody try to find out what happened to Shalom Fogel? I know Aaron Swade is away tonight because he's learning Navi. But where is Shalom Fogel? So anyway, the Kala is very quiet. She doesn't say boo. Right? Her shtika is kaida. But now what happens if the Kala is a lebedika? She's not quiet. So listen to this Gemara. Tana Rabbanan, hiskachali b'mana. He says, be kadeshes to me with a mana. What does she do? Not lasa, she takes it v'zarkasa yam and throws it into the sea. Or she throws it into the fire. Kol davar ovid, or anything else that destroys it. Ain't a mekadesh. She's not mekadesh because that's like saying, here's what I think about your offer. You think I'm going to marry you? You're out of your mind? Says the Gemara. Marshall went through this a few times before he finally got married. So he
was just chazering the Gemara, Rab.
Says the Gemara, Hosha disinu kamei, but if she threw it to him, she threw it back, she would be Mekadeshes, have a Kiddushin. But why? If she threw it back at him, she throws the ring at him. Right? She's saying, I don't want it. Says, well, no, then of course, if she throws the ring at his face, of course she's not Mekadeshes. That she throws it in front of him, to have a Kiddushin. But if she throws it into the sea or the fire, since if she's not going to be married, she's going to be liable to pay for it. Ema came into Mechayvabu, since she would be liable to pay for it, Kiddushay Kaddish Nafsha. She's accepting the Kiddushin. V'hadika of the haki, so then why did she throw it into the fire? Why did she throw it into the river? Savri Ivdika Lahaya Gavra, I want to check Iraschanahu Ulay. She wanted to do a bedika if he had a temper. But really, she wants to be engaged. It's a funny time to check your chassan when you're under the chuppah and getting engaged. I don't recommend that, Rabbi Yisai. It's not such a good idea. Kamash Malan, that no. If she throws it in the fire, she throws it in the water, she throws it off the bridge, then she's not engaged. Now, Tan Rabbanan, hiskachali b'mana, be mekudeshes to me for 100. She says, Tnein la'aba ulavicha, give it to my father, give it to your father. Ain't mekudeshes. In other words, instead of taking it, she says, give it to my father, give it to your father, she's not mekudeshes. But if she says, al menashi kablum li, if they will keep it in trust for me, then mekudeshes. Tana abba loidia koich dereisha. that even if it's her father, but if she just said give it to her father, she's not engaged. That your father, even where it's her father-in-law, if she says that he should accept it for me, then she is engaged. Hiskachli b'mana, if he said be mekudeshes to me for 100, tneim leploni, give it to Yankel, ain't a mekudeshes. Al menashi yekablamli, give it to Yankel to accept it for me, mekudeshes. V'tzricha. Di ashmin abba v'avicha, hasem hu dichi amra al menashi yekablamli, that they should accept it for me. She knows them and she trusts them. Have a Kiddushin, the samchadat because she relies on them. Savra avdun li shluchusai. They'll do my agency and they'll watch it for me. I will play me light, but if she says give it to Yankel, I might think that he should accept it for me. I might think that it's no good. V'yashminam ploini. If she says give it to Yankel, give it to Yankel without saying that he should accept it for me. She's not close to them. To give it to Yankel as a gift. If he said give it to my father or your father, maybe she meant give it and it should be a gift for me to them. The mikra, she knows them. She's accepting it and giving it to them as a gift, and then the Kiddushin should be a good Kiddushin. Tzricha, that no, if she just said give it to them, she's not mekudeshes.
Why is this different than we had in Gemara earlier with Orev and Eved? Isn't that the same thing? Give it to somebody, I'll do the Kaddish to you.
No, there she's saying the arrangement. Here,
well, he's offering it to her, and she said, give it to my father.
Again, she didn't connect it to the Kiddushin. There it's connected to the Kiddushin, so you see desire. It's completely different. You see the difference?
Not really.
Over there it's Hanor, and this one's not
Here,
Hanor.
she didn't say it should be for Kiddushin. There she said it should be for Kiddushin.
Okay.
Tana Rabbanan. Hiskachli b'mana, B'kedeshes to me for 100, and she said, Tneim al gabe sela, put it on the rack. Ain't a Kedeshes. She said, I don't want to put it on the rack. V'imo yisela shalah, but if it's her rack, then Kedeshes. What if it's a rack that belongs to both of them? By Rav Beivoi, Sela shel Shneim Mao. What if it's a rack that belongs to both of them? Take Tishbi Taretz Kushis Ribois. We're not sure. Hiskacheli Bekiker. Right? He said, Bima Kadeshes to me, and he gives her a nice homemade challah. Tanei Lekelev, give it to the dog. Ain't a Kadeshes. But if it's her dog, if it's her dog, she loves her dog, then Mekadeshes. Boira Mari, Kelev Rotzach Areh Mau. What if a dog is chasing her? And he said, be Mekadeshes to me with the challah, and she said, give it to the dog. The dog is chasing her. Do we say, Bahu Anod Kamatzla Nafsha Minei, with that benefit that she's being saved from being bitten by the dog, Gomra Maknalei Nafsha, she gives herself over. Or Dilma, or what she meant is, give it to the dog, you're mechuyev to save me. You see somebody being chased by a dog, you have to help them. Or Dilma Matziamalei Midaraisa Chiyuve Mechayvis Latzulan. You see a dog running after a person, you're supposed to help a yid. So therefore you're mechuyev, and you're not giving me anything. It's something that you're mechuyev to do, and therefore she's not engaged. Take Tishbi Ataretz Kushis Ribois. Finally, the last case of the evening, and I know, Mamish, look at Mark, his mouth is open, he can't wait for the last case. I mean, it's unbelievable. Philippe is jumping out of his chair in excitement. Hiskacheli Bekikar. He says to Sarah, be Mekadeshes to me for this delicious challah. She says, Tneu la'ani. Give it to a pauper. Eina Mekudeshes. Now, that's afilu ani asamachala. That's even a pauper that she usually supports. My time. Why? Because she says you also have the mitzvah of nothing titain. You also have the mitzvah of pasayach tiftach es yadecha. Amalei kiechid mechayv be'ana, just like I'm mechayiv, achi mechayv es be'at, you're mechayiv too. You're not giving me anything. You have the mitzvah of tzedakah. So that's not giving her anything, and therefore that's not a good kiddushin. Okay, Rabbi Yisai. Tomorrow, shir is again at 8:15, and we will be broadcasting again tomorrow night from here in Fairways. Before I head back to the country later on, Be'ezus Hashem, on Tuesday night. Wednesday night we will have a Chumash shir. We do have a sponsor. Rich and Hinda Leonard is sponsoring the shir this week. Thank you very, very much. We're going to learn the Mishnah Yomis now.